Hey everybody, how you guys doing out there today? I'm Mighty Mike Nagan for ReedPop. Thank you so much for joining us. Today we have Mark Brooks. It's the Mark Brooks Hullabaloo, a live draw and Q&A. Mark Brooks, as you know, superstar artist. He's known for Secret Empire and Detective Comics, Han Solo, one of my favorites, Ultimate X-Men, and the list goes on and on and on. And we're gonna do a little bit of a Q&A, and Mark's gonna do a live draw for us. So I present Mark Brooks. Hey, Mark, how are you today?
Good. How are you?
Doing great, man. Doing great. Thanks so much for joining us. I appreciate it.
Of course, my pleasure. Since con season's pretty much canceled at this point, at least for the foreseeable future, it's good to be able to do stuff like this.
Right on. I miss you guys. I miss the fans. I miss the artists. I miss my whole con family. I can't wait till we get back to it.
I can't either. I've still got my fingers crossed that New York Comic Con is going to happen. But
fingers crossed.
Hopefully, October we're out of the woods and we can all see each other again.
I cannot wait. I cannot wait. So we're going to do a little bit of a Q&A with you. But while we're doing a Q&A, you're going to draw a piece. So tell us a little bit about what you're going to do today.
I went ahead and penciled out something. I'm going to do an 80s Jim Lee era Jean Grey, I think.
Nice. One of my favorite eras of the X-Men.
Yeah, I think it's most people's favorite era, so I figured I would do kind of a fan favorite.
Absolutely. Folks, just to let you know, what we're going to do is we're going to be giving away that piece at the end. Mark, thank you so much for doing this. We're going to be giving away the piece at the end of the Q&A. The way that you're eligible is you got to leave a comment or a question. If you don't get chosen, that's okay. But you need to leave a comment at the end. We're going to pick the grand prize winner. So stay to the end. Please make sure you comment. Stay to the end, and hopefully you'll be the winner of this amazing piece because I know it's going to be beautiful.
Absolutely. Now I'm also going to go to the New York Comic Con Facebook page. And I want to share this as well with my fans so we can get more people to come onto this.
Cool. Thank you. I appreciate it.
Of course.
Mark Brooks, by the way, in case people don't know this, the best mustache in the comic book industry. It's
for now.
Undisputed.
This is my quarantine mustache. This is only going to last until we're actually out of the woods with all this.
Wait, you had that mustache before the quarantine, as I recall.
I did, but as far as how ridiculous this is getting, I vowed I wouldn't trim it until this is all over. So I'm probably going to look like full on what's his name, Salvador Dali, by the time this is over.
Well, when the time comes, I hope that you live stream the snipping of the mustache.
Oh no, absolutely. I might do that. I let Lisa do it because God, she hates it.
I know she went. The last time I saw her, she was like, "Tell him." I think we were doing a live vote at the convention. Everyone who came up was like, "Yeah."
that was Emerald City last year. Yeah, absolutely.
So you've had it a while. Yeah.
Yeah. I should mention, by the way, my wife is here. Say hi, Lisa.
Hi.
She's hanging out with me. And if I'm drawing and I'm having trouble answering questions, she's going to be able to jump in and help me out.
Awesome.
If need be.
Thank you for joining us, Lisa. I appreciate it.
I'm happy to be here. Thank you, Mike, for the invitation.
Oh, you're welcome.
Now we're drinking, Mike. Are you drinking?
I have a water with me. I'm working.
Calm down there, Mike.
Things can get crazy as it is. You don't want to see this with alcohol. It gets nuts.
All right. Well, I need to reposition my camera here so that you guys can see what I'm doing.
Okay, sounds good.
So give me a second.
So just to start things, once you start, I have a couple of questions for you. So we'll start with a couple of questions for me, and then we'll start taking questions from the fans.
Yeah, absolutely. See if I can position this. You can go ahead and keep asking. I'm just going to position this while you're talking.
Cool. So one of the things that I mentioned this right before we got online is your every time we see new work from you recently, it's been bigger and better than the piece before. More characters, more detail. I even commented you're trying to outpace George Perez. What's kind of the feeling about trying to keep one-upping yourself and making these amazingly intricate pieces?
Well, I think for me it just comes down to I don't want to get bored. And and let's face it, I'm an attention whore. So I tend to get the best reaction when I do these huge multi-character pieces. So, and I have a lot of fun doing them because I love drawing the characters, and there's very little background in pieces like that. So I don't have to worry about a background so much. And yeah, it just, I just was attracted to them. Back when I was a kid, and I'm sure you remember this, there was always the art. Oh, sorry. The Arthur Adams like X-Men posters he used to do back back in the day. I always had those.
The cover to classic X-Men #1 is like one of my favorite X-Men covers of all time.
Exactly, and that was the big poster at the time.
Yes.
So yeah, I had that on my wall. So there was always that kind of like, it was always there for me. It was always what I was attracted to, what I loved. So I like doing that stuff, and I do end up doing a lot of covers for event books, and the event books, as you know, always have just a ton of characters.
Absolutely. One of the most recent events you're gonna be working on is the Fantastic Four X-Men crossover, or is it the X-Men Fantastic Four crossover?
I think it's X-Men Fantastic Four. Technically speaking, I could be wrong.
That's really exciting. I actually have a image I could share of that cover. Hold on one second. Let me show the people at home what that looks like. Can you guys see it?
Not there yet. Lisa, do you see it?
No, but I'm like a minute delayed or so.
Look how it should be up now. It's a beautiful piece. Classic X-Men, classic Fantastic Four. I love it. Now this is 4 covers, right? Correct me if I'm wrong. This is 4 covers.
It is. It's issues 1 through 4, and it's done in a grid pattern instead of your normal. Normally they're done. Okay, it just popped up and then it went away. Mike, you still there?
There we go.
There he is. No, it was done in a grid pattern, which isn't your traditional method of doing a cover normally. So yeah, the top left and then top right is cover 1 and 2, and then lower left and lower right are covers 3 and 4.
Traditionally, it's like 4 covers across. So this is really unique to do it in this kind of grid style.
Yeah, I mean, it's not the first time it's ever been done, but I definitely I've never gotten to do one, so I was really excited to be able to, because when I got an email from the editor, to say, hey, we wanted you to do these covers, these variant covers for each issue, I said, well, hey, what do you think about this idea? And that's when I pitched the idea of doing it as a grid, all like one cover, and they went for it. So that's how it came to be. I think we keep losing Mike, or I do. Mike? Am I alone?
We're just having some technical difficulties here.
Am I still on?
Yeah, you are. You're full screen right now.
Oh, okay. So I'm alone. All right, Lisa. So now that Mike's not here, you have to ask questions.
I'm back. Sorry about that. the hazards of working from home.
Well, this is why we have Lisa here. Lisa's going to take over your job if
I'm sure she could do it so much better than I can at this point. Definitely. Sorry about that. So you were saying the grid pattern. It's not been done before. It's been done before, but it's not a usual practice, right?
Yeah. It's not the usual, and I've never done one before, so I was really excited to do it. So
what's the idea behind the series? Do you know anything about it? Obviously X-Men and Fantastic Four, but is there a little bit of information that you could share with us about the story?
I'd love to. I have not gotten to go to the comic shop in so long, and then of course the quarantines happened, and I have not been able to read the issue yet, and I haven't gotten my comps either. So I know that they're having to team up. Obviously, you could tell from the cover that it has to do with Dr. Doom. But no, I can't give you any more detail than that, only because I haven't got a chance to read it. But I will say that it's drawn by Terry Dodson, who I'm a big fan of. So Oh, Terry's amazing. So so that's one aspect I think should drive anybody to want to pick it up. And issues 1 and 3 are out, and issues 4, it was supposed to come out, but then the quarantine happened, and so I believe it should be out either late this month or early June.
Cool. I hope that at some point they either they've done it or they're going to do it is make a poster of this. I would imagine.
I'd love for them to. That would be really cool. I'd like to do one myself as well, but we'll have to see about that.
Nice. I mean, I'm a huge X-Men fan, huge Fantastic Four fan. I don't, they kind of cross over periodically, but whenever they get together, like, hilarity always ensues, and I love those stories. There was one way back in the 80s. It was also likewise called a Fantastic Four and X-Men. I can't remember who drew it, but I think Claremont wrote it.
Oh, really? Okay.
I remember. It was like there was a couple of books that came out at that time. It was X-Men versus Fantastic Four, Fantastic Four versus Mephisto, and then there was like a third book that made it almost like a trilogy story. But again, that was a very long time ago.
Well, actually, I have an announcement I can make on your live cast.
Ooh, exclusive announcement! I'm excited.
This is I haven't. I'm revealing it here first. I have not revealed this to anybody yet. But I am the new cover artist on Fantastic Four, starting with issue number 25.
Wow, that is amazing! That's fantastic. This is a dad joke. Congratulations, man! Congratulations!
Thank you.
Really exciting. Really exciting.
No, it's going to be really cool. I'm actually working on the first cover right now. I'm trying to do some like really cool, like epic movie poster style thing for my first poster. So it's gonna be really cool. I'm really excited to do it, and I'm as much as I really enjoy drawing the Fantastic Four, I can't wait to do that. I'm really hoping I get a shot at I still think Fantastic Four has one of the best rogues galleries in comics, and so I really want to draw Silver Surfer and Doctor Doom, obviously, and Galactus, and so hopefully they'll make appearances at some point during my run, so I get a chance to try myself out on those.
Oh, I hope that we get to see you hit all of them. Who's your favorite FF villain?
Favorite villain is I really go in for chrome and metal textures like that. So even though he's not really a villain, I get it, but he started off that way. I'd have to go with Silver Surfer.
Nice. I agree. I like the chrome textures to him, especially when some you've seen some folks paint him and they get to the reflections in him from other characters. I love that stuff.
Oh no, absolutely. Yeah, it's really, really cool.
Cool. I guess that lends me to my next question for you. What's your favorite character to draw? You've touched so many characters. You've both Marvel and DC. Who's your favorite one to really dive into?
I would say, the one I like drawing the best, and it's not even about, I like his character just fine. I think he's great, but he's not my favorite character in the Marvel universe. But to draw, I really enjoy drawing a Thor, just because he's got so many textures and things about his costume that it's hard to mess him up, and I just have a really good time with him. So yeah, definitely Thor.
Is it classic Thor or modern Thor? Which is your preference?
Modern. I definitely like modern. I like classic just fine. I've drawn classic a couple of times, and I really enjoy drawing him. But the modern has a lot more metal to him. He's got those that gridded pattern on his arms and legs, and it's just really cool to draw. He takes a long time to draw. That's the only downside to it.
I would imagine that that line work and the painting of his armor, like you said, those little grid work must be difficult.
It is. It can take a while. I did an issue of Thor years ago, and it was one of those times where I realized I had bitten off more than I can chew, because the book took so long to finish, because he's very time consuming to draw,
Right. So on the opposite end, then, what's a character that you find most difficult to draw? When you find out, oh, this guy's going to be on the cover. This is the guy I hold off to. This is the person I hold off to last, because it's the most difficult to do.
You know, it's funny. It's actually a character that I have drawn a lot of, especially thanks to like Secret Empire that I had to do. But I still, to this day, I find myself having issues being able to cope with just getting the look I want for him, or like finding my voice for him. But that would be Captain America.
Really? Wow.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if it's a pressure thing, but it's for the same reason I have trouble drawing Superman. There's just so much to that character, and there's I don't know. I find it kind of daunting. And it's not that I can't draw him. It's just that I end up spending so much more time when I'm actually penciling him than I would on another character that could just flow out of me.
Oh, that's interesting. I guess because both characters are kind of are extremely inspirational characters, and you want that to show through in your drawing, I guess. And I guess it's hard to capture that, right? And
it can be, yeah. I mean, absolutely, for that reason.
I can say,
go ahead. Sorry.
I could say you're Captain America, especially I remember from Secret Empire when Cap wasn't necessarily in the most savory of places. I kind of felt in some of your work on his face, especially, I felt like you could feel the struggle that was happening there. Like I remember that specifically, thinking that thought on one of the covers. Like you could feel it, like just underlying there. So I think you're doing a good job of it. I think you do.
That's awesome. Thanks, man.
You're welcome. It's good
to Lisa's telling me the camera in closer. Hold on.
Sure. Tighter. All right.
She wants a tighter shot. Is that better?
It's looking great so far.
Let's see. How's it?
You got to give Lisa producing credits on this.
I know, seriously, right? But this is why I bring her.
It's a smart move. It's a very smart move.
Besides the fact she's really pretty.
So I also I've heard that Marvel is going to be producing an art book for you, right?
They are, yes. They've been producing these art books called monographs, and they've done it with a bunch of different artists so far. They did J. Scott Campbell and Humberto Ramos and Asad Ribic. Is coming out before too long. It'll be coming out in the summer, I want to say. We're still working on it, but I did finish the cover, and it should be really cool. I mean, I think I want to say July, maybe August. I think because of what's going on, it keeps getting pushed back a little bit. But I did send you the cover, I believe. Did you?
We do have it. We do have the cover. Let's bring it up. Let me share the screen so people can see it. Hopefully this time I won't kick myself out.
Lisa's at the bit.
Should take a couple of seconds. Once it comes up, hopefully we could pop it up and people can get a better look. It's a gorgeous cover. Beautiful work on Psylocke's side blades. Like they really glow. Can we see it yet? I don't.
Yeah, I can see it.
There we go. Love it. So what's it feel like to like, this is a kind of a monumentous thing. Like your work has been collected into a book. You have worked in this industry long enough that there is actually a way to collect everything and kind of, highlight your career. That's got to be a little bit daunting. Do you get the idea of it's got to be a little daunting. Did you get to choose kind of what was in it and what wasn't in it, or how much was your involvement in the book?
I'm pretty involved with it. I have an editor that's putting it all together, but he's sending me pages as it gets designed. They of course have access to the entire Marvel library, but I ended up going through and sending them a bunch of stuff that I had done. Not that I've done, but just stuff that from my archives that I said I would like to be included. So they've been really great about letting me kind of like, I don't know if art direct's the right term, but just, running everything by me and asking me what I think. And I've been really appreciate, how much input they're willing to let me have in the whole thing. So yeah, I mean, by the time it comes out, it's going to be something that I'm going to be really proud of. And
that's great.
Yeah.
We put a link so everyone can see. They can pre-order if they're interested, and of course, you could always go to your local comic shop and pre-order. This is something that you guys don't want to miss. So please make sure to pre-order it, and hopefully we'll be seeing it sooner than later. Hopefully all this clears up and everything starts shipping and stores start opening, and you get to hold this book in your hands.
Absolutely.
Okay, I'm going to take that image down real quick. There we go. And I didn't disconnect this time. Beautiful.
Well done.
So does this book span your entire career at Marvel, like from the earliest days to now? Or
It does, but we also are leaving some stuff out only because the goal is to do 2 volumes. So it's going to be like an early career stuff, and it's going to do kind of a best of from then on out. But the goal is to do that for this one, and the next one is going to really delve really hard into process. So hopefully it'll have a lot of, like, step-by-steps in it, and this is going to include some of that stuff too. I mean, this one will have sketches and things like that. But yeah, we really want to go like a lot of step-by-steps with the next volume. So, but for the next volume to come out, people have to buy this volume.
Right.
So I need everyone to go out and order it and get it so that the numbers can be high enough that can justify the sequel. Which, if you're a process junkie like me, you're going to want the sequel.
Nice. You heard here. Pre-order. There's a link below. There's a link in the comments. Go to your local comic book stores. Make sure you buy this book so we can see volume 2, especially if you're in process work.
Right, exactly.
So is there anything that as you were kind of going through all of the artwork, that you saw some of your older stuff and you kind of remembered it and like, oh wow, like I really remember this. I love this piece. Or on the opposite end again, like I remember not liking this. I remember not liking the way this came out at the time.
It's actually both. It's a lot of oh, I remember liking this at the time. Wow, this is awful. I think that's just that just goes with the territory. I will say that I fully understand that just because I don't like something doesn't mean that it's not decent or good. It's just my style has changed so much, and I will say that the design of the book, what the designer is doing, is so nice that when he sends me chapters of it, I'm really impressed that these things that I necessarily wouldn't think are great look really, really good. Just the way that they're packaged, it's really nice.
Right. What can you give us an idea of just an example of one piece that you kind of looked at and you're like, oh, this was not how I remembered it to be?
Oh, when I think about all the Aranya work from back in the day, which I love doing the character, but I was so green at the time, right, that I often joke that I don't know what Marvel was thinking. I had no business drawing comics at the time. And I know that's just self-deprecation, but it's a weird thing. I mean, it's you don't know what you don't know. And at that time, I was like, oh, I'm good enough to draw for Marvel. But then, as I kind of consider myself a little bit of a journeyman, which is, I'm always trying to get better and learn new techniques. So as I got older and as I learned new things, I realized how much I didn't know back then, when I probably was just a young upstart thinking I knew everything, So it's interesting.
Well, I guess for a lot of creators who especially have a longevity in the industry, you see that their work evolve over the years, like from the beginning of their career to the end, to not the end of the career, but through their career. Yeah. Especially now that back then when you were doing much more pencil work than today when you do more painting, obviously.
No, absolutely. I mean, that was, discovering how to actually paint and use color and value and render. It really changed the way that I addressed comics and how I addressed the art form itself. Because, when I was a kid, pretty much all the art out there was all done pen and ink. There was a penciler, there was an inker, there was the colorist, and then there was the letterer, and that was that. And so my goal was, well, I want to be a penciler, so I'm just going to pencil. And oddly enough, when I started off drawing, I was drawing in high school. I worked in everything. I was, painting in oils and pastels and pen and ink, and then I was using different techniques like pointillism and cross hatching or whatever. But once I got into comics, I just thought, I just out of sheer ignorance that, oh well, I draw comics, so I pen and ink. That's what I do. And it wasn't until I started seeing guys like Alex Ross that were coming in and doing actual paint that it taught me, oh, well, this stuff you used to do in high school and in college, you can incorporate that into comics. And so that's what I started doing, and been doing it ever since.
So, like, how did you kind of pitch that idea? Like, you here you are, you're a penciler, right? You're working on some Marvel books, and then you want to change your style up to, or rather showcase that you can also paint. Like, how did you pitch that idea to Marvel and say, this is what I want to do now? Or did you start doing it?
I just started doing it. I never really pitched it. I mean, the thing about working with Marvel or really any company, I mean, you just do something and hope it works. Marvel will be the first ones to say, hey, we don't dig this. Can you go back to doing whatever you were doing before? In which case you go, okay, well, I guess I'll just do this in my own free time. So, yeah. So like I said, it wasn't so much asking permission as it was just do it and see what happens.
So what was the first book that you did that you started that style
on? Probably Fearless Defenders, I would think, is where I really started. I mean, I'd done a couple here and there before then, but where I finally went, okay, I'm going to start doing full renders on everything, really was, I believe, Fearless Defenders. And the great thing about that book is, and you asked about asking permission. The great thing about that book is it was a smaller book, and it didn't have, it didn't have huge sale numbers. It had enough to run a full 12 issues, but it didn't have huge sale numbers. So they were much more willing to kind of just let me just kind of do whatever I wanted. Nice. I still had to run things by them. Obviously, I couldn't just like, okay, here's the cover. I had to send them layouts, and they had to approve my ideas and things. But it did seem like they were a little more apt to just kind of let me go.
Right. I remember that book. I remember, this is before we knew each other, actually. And I remember seeing that book and being like, wow, this is very different. This is very different than what we're used to in the industry. And I'm excited. I was excited about the idea of it. So I don't remember it well, but I remember enjoying it. I remember being wowed by the art of it.
Yeah, it was a really good book. Colin Bunn wrote it, and Will Slaney was the penciler. And I thought it was really good. It was definitely a one for the age. And I will say it was the first book I ever worked on where people started showing up to conventions in cosplay of characters I had designed or was drawing at the time, and cosplayers wanted to meet me because I had worked on this character or whatever. So that was really, really cool. And definitely the audience was small, but they were enthusiastic.
Wow, that is really cool. That is so cool.
Yeah, it was really awesome.
We want to start taking some fan questions. So if you guys are out there, you guys have some questions, feel free to leave them in the comments. We'll start asking Mark some questions. Remember, you got to leave a comment or a question to be eligible to win this amazing piece. It's coming out beautiful, Mark, really.
Thank you.
So I got a question from Joseph K. Are there any books still on your bucket list, like certain titles?
Not really. I mean, I kind of feel like I've gotten the chance to draw just about everybody, especially all the characters that I grew up with. I mean, I think that being a cover artist, my life isn't really about telling a story of a specific character. It's just more like who I think would be cool to draw. And I still would like to try my hand at Hellboy, which I've never. I mean, I've drawn some con sketches of him and stuff, but I've never drawn him in any official capacity. So that would be a lot of fun. But of course, I need Mike Mignola to give me permission to do that. He hasn't called me yet. So,
Mike, if you're watching, call Mark, please.
Right.
I would love to see that.
That would be a lot of fun. I would really kill for that.
Cool. We got another question from Brian EP CH. Hey, Mark, have you ever done an Archie cover, Betty or Veronica?
I haven't. I actually talked with the Archie guys to do a cover for them a few years back. And at the time I was exclusive to Marvel, so I wasn't able to do it. So, I haven't had the chance yet, but I definitely would be open to it.
Cool. Are you an Archie guy? Did you grow up with that stuff, like picking it up at the corner store or the supermarket, like most of us did?
I honestly didn't. I mean, by the time I started reading comics, it really was diving right into like the American superhero genre.
Okay.
So yeah, I never really got to the Archie thing. I did read Sabrina the Teenage Witch, and I'm currently watching that show on I think it's Netflix that has it. So I've been checking that out, it's really awesome. A lot darker and more evil than I thought it was going to be. I mean, I thought it was going to be like, it's going to be like a teenage drama kind of thing, and it kind of is. But there's definitely some darkness in it that I was surprised to see.
It's definitely darker than the book, obviously. Even when the book went a little bit more mature in the last few years, it's definitely a different take. But it's really cool. I like it. I like it a lot.
Oh, I definitely do. Yeah, I mean, it went a direction that I was like, whoa, okay, this is not what I expected, but I was hooked. I mean, it was a good kind of not expected it,
Yeah, it's a great concept. So I'm going to ask the eternal question that anybody who's ever looked at Archie ever has to answer: Betty or Veronica?
I've always been a brunette guy, so definitely Veronica.
There you go. And I've always been a blonde guy, so Betty. So see.
Oh, okay. There you go. So you've always been more of a Ginger than a Marianne.
Yes.
Sounds like.
Yes, exactly.
Boo.
I got another question from Enrique Robles. Enrique, hi, how are you? Mike, please ask him his favorite artist and art book.
My favorite artist of all time would probably be Alphonse Mucha, followed closely by Norman Rockwell. And others are kind of like, trite answers because everyone likes them. It's like in high school, every wannabe artist loves MC Escher, but I still really get into them. And my favorite art book is not really an art book as much as it's a how-to book. And it was a book I got years ago called Perspective for the Comic Book Artist. And it is just a book that teaches you how to draw perspective. And it changed my world, changed my life. And to this day, I still, every once in a while, will pick it up and thumb through it. I mean, I would rank it up there with like, how to draw comics the Marvel way.
Oh, wow. And who was it by? Or was it by various artists?
I can't remember. No, it was one artist, and I cannot remember to save my life. It's a red cover, and it's got an artist sitting at a drawing table, and out of the drawing table is a plane, like a biplane, coming at the viewer. I know it's on Amazon. It's been around for a long time, but it is the best artist reference guide I've ever found for drawing perspective. I mean, it addresses everything, curvular perspective, 3-point, 2-point, just everything. The way an image distorts once you go past the zone of reality, just all this stuff. It's really, really great. Highly recommend it.
And what was the book's title again, just so everyone can take a look if they're interested?
It's called Perspective for the Comic Book Artist.
Perspective for the Comic Book Artist. Check it.
It is on Amazon. It should be easy enough to find.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Question is from Mike Chang. What is the hardest character or thing to draw? We kind of touched on that a little bit, but if you want to expand, if there's something else.
Hardest thing to draw is cars can be very difficult. I don't know if you guys notice when you read a comic book, you can always tell when someone is trying to draw a car of their imagination because the car looks like a bread box. But actually drawing realistic looking cars can be very difficult because of the way they curve, because they always tell you, well, you start off with a grid, and you start off with a rectangle, and then you form it out from there. But that's a lot easier said than done. So yeah, I'll give it to cars.
Cars. And like, have you ever drawn a car that like, what's your favorite type of cars to draw? Like sports cars, trucks. What's easiest? What's hardest?
Sports cars are always the hardest, just because they have the most curves and dimension to them compared to like a truck, which oftentimes it's just basically is just a rectangle on top of another rectangle.
Right.
You know.
Cool. I got the next question is from C2E2's own Saki the Sock Puppet. What's your favorite Marvel heroine art you've ever drawn, and why?
My favorite heroine art. Oh boy. I don't know. I mean, I don't know if there's anything specific. I really enjoyed my run on Captain Marvel. That was a lot of fun. Because I got to do some really cool stuff with that. But I don't know that I would necessarily say that that's my favorite one. I really enjoy the X-Men. The X-Men are my favorite title that Marvel produces. So anytime I get to do an X-Men cover, I'm always like very, very conscious of doing them well. So because of that, they normally come out pretty well. So I'd probably give it to the X-Men if I had to give it to anybody, any of my X-Men covers I've done.
Nice. Who's your favorite X-Men artist?
Mark Silvestri.
Silvestri's amazing. Love his.
He was the big artist on it when I was reading back in the day. I mean, he did like the Fall of the Mutants and the Outback Saga, and just the runs that to me encapsulate the characters the best. And I also had the best roster at the time. With I think all the main 5 X-Men were all off in X Factor at that point. So
right.
It was like Wolverine, Storm, Colossus, Dazzler, Psylocke, Havoc. It was that's my favorite roster.
That's about the same time a little bit after I got into the X-Men, but that's about one of my favorite ones as well. I love Silvestri stuff.
Oh yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah, Claremont. It was the whole Claremont run for me. I mean, Silvestri was my favorite. He's the one I remember the most. But when I started reading X-Men, it started off with Alan Davis, who I absolutely love as well.
Love Alan Davis. I'm also a big Paul Smith fan. I love Paul Smith stuff.
Mm-hmm.
It was a short run, but it was very impactful to me.
Oh, absolutely.
I got a question from DJ Rothenbecker.
Mm-hmm.
Are you primarily physical art or a combination of physical and digital?
Well, what I spend the most time on is the physical part of it, but I do work digitally as well. I work digitally when I do my pencils. So, like for instance, this was penciled digitally because it just saves time.
Right.
Not to say I can't pencil traditionally, because that's how I started. I've been penciling traditionally ever since I broke in. But once I got a Cintiq, it's just I really enjoy penciling digitally, just trying out different brushes and things like that. But I always say I'm primarily a physical medium, because I may spend a day penciling, but then I'll spend 5 days rendering it or painting it. So I'm definitely spending more time in the physical aspect of it.
Wow. So typically, and I know with these larger pieces like the Fantastic Four, X-Men or something, I'm sure that takes a considerable amount of time, more than usual. But what's the standard amount of time for a cover per set?
I try to get them done in about a week.
Okay.
That's what I'm always aiming for. I don't always hit it, depending on what the cover is. Basically, the more characters, the longer it's going to take. But yeah, I try to do it in a week if I can.
Wow, that's a lot of time on one piece. Like those have become like children, I would imagine. Like it's got to be difficult to invest so much time in something, and then just like on to the next thing. Like
yeah, I mean it definitely can. Some of these pieces I work on, and by the time I get done with them, I'm so over it that I can't wait to get on to the next piece.
I can imagine that's true as well.
That definitely happens.
I have another question, and folks, forgive me if I mispronounce anyone's name. I'm going to try my very best. Tristan Spolster. When did you start penciling?
Penciling comics or just drawing in general?
Well, I think we know. You said you had started. What is it, Ariana? Is that how you say it again?
Aranya.
Aranya. Yes, that's it. That's where you started for your work. But I guess when did you start drawing? Would be more.
Well, I mean, if it's just a drawing question, I mean, generally, I always give the same answer, which is I started drawing the same time everyone else did. I think everyone drew when they were in high school or in middle school or in elementary school. Art class was a prerequisite for most of us growing up. The only difference between me and somebody else that doesn't draw for a living is that I never stopped. I was always drawing. So yeah, I would just say it's since I was a little kid.
I get a personal question for you. So if Mark Brooks wasn't an artist, if he wasn't a comic book artist, what would he be doing? What
would I be doing?
What other path do you think your life might have taken?
I think I'd probably be digging ditches.
No, you could be a DJ or a lawyer. I think.
Yeah. Lisa always says I could have been a lawyer, but I think I would have hated the. I like arguing, but I hate the paperwork. So
he would have been the trial attorney.
Yeah, just tell me what I need to say, and I'll go in there and say it.
Right, you get somebody else to do the paperwork. Lisa, you'll.
Exactly. Yeah, but no, I've always really enjoyed the idea of radio. I think I've really enjoyed having gotten to go work in radio, whether it's as a DJ or whatever. Even if I was just producing. I know there's no money in radio right now, but I think it'd be a lot of fun.
That would be amazing. I could see you as a radio personality. I could see that.
Oh, thanks, man. I would be the wacky morning show guy.
Mark Brooks in the morning. Our next question is from Oscar A. Escobedo.
I know Oscar. Yeah.
Do you ever get original comic art from other artists?
I do. Yeah, I'm definitely an art collector.
Great collection.
We have a pretty decent collection. Behind me, well, you can't see behind me because I have my camera aimed down at this point. But like I have Rose and Thorn #1, that cover by Adam Hughes.
Oh, wow.
I've got Next Wave that Stuart Eminem did. The big double page spread issue where every page was a double page spread. I have one.
I remember that issue. That's awesome.
Yeah, I have the one where which one do we have, Lisa? It's the one with not the Elvis babies. It's the one with the big troll guys and the gorillas. Yeah. The Soviet gorillas.
I remember that. That's so cool.
Yeah.
Got a Muka print.
We do have an original Muka litho that was produced from the original plates that he did, and I do have a Juice Drusen. That's true. And just a bunch of other pages here and there. I've got some Humberto Ramos stuff. I've got some Brian Hitch. Got some Chris Pachalo. Yeah, just various things. Claire Windling. And I like to say that with the exception of only a few pieces, I've paid for most of my art. A lot of people think that us as artists get our art for free, and some we do. But I have paid for a lot of my collection.
Well, I think as an artist, you can appreciate, that while you love to give presents to your friends, in the end of the day, this is your career, and you need to, and I think every other artist kind of feels the same way. Is they want to help, but at the same time, they don't want to take anything for free. It's like
right, absolutely.
Right. So many people are complimenting the piece, by the way. It's coming out amazing. We got comment upon comment of saying how gorgeous it's coming out.
Thank you.
I guess since you got a bunch of original art, I guess I have a quick question in that when you started in the industry as a new creator, right, you eventually met a lot of people, became friends with a lot of people. Who was that one artist that now is your friend that back in the day you would have never imagined, like, I would have a friendship with this person. I would know this person.
It really comes down to where I live, because I live in Atlanta, and Atlanta is the home of a lot of comic artists. Mark Bagley lives here. Adam Hughes, Brian Stelfreeze Cully Hamner lived here for years and years. Just all these artists that, I grew up with and would see at conventions and be too nervous to talk to. And now I get to count them as my friends. And it's really cool and kind of surreal that I get to hang out with these guys in the capacity that I do, considering that in the beginning I was just some guy, who was wandering by their table and was too nervous to talk to them.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's an honor to be able to do that. I think it's why I'm so concerned about being nice to people when I'm at conventions, and that people walk away from my table with a positive experience, because it wasn't that long ago, at least to me, that I was that guy, and I can remember a couple of negative experiences. Nothing I'm going to say specifically, but I can remember a few times that I walked away from a table and just said to myself, I'm never going to be that. If I'm lucky enough to be able to do this for a living, I am never going to treat somebody that way.
Oh, that's amazing. Like, it's always important to be appreciative of other creators and the fans, especially like that. As a fan myself, that means a lot to me that you have that attitude about it.
Well, I think it's important, I mean, it's important to remember where you came from. It's more important to remember who you are. And I think the best way to behave yourself, whether it's at a convention or online or whatever, is pretend your mother's sitting next to you. What
Right.
would she be saying about the way you're acting?
What if you hate your mother, though?
Well, if you hate your mother, I don't know what to tell you. If you hate your mother, I think I know why you're acting like an asshole.
There you go.
Sorry, that was my first thought, Mike.
No worries. You're good. You're good. We got another question from. I'm gonna mess this name up. Shay Tshai Stevenson. Do you have any characters you want to merge together? Well, that's an interesting question.
Characters I want to merge together?
I guess maybe like I don't know if you remember back in the day, Marvel and DC kind of did. There was a Marvel versus DC, and then DC, and it became that amalgam. Where
yeah. I know what you're talking about.
Is there any characters you'd ever want to merge together? And it could be from anywhere, not necessarily Marvel DC.
Boy, that's a good question. I don't know. I'd make Tim Townsend really happy, and to say that I would merge Hellboy and Batman. See how that would look.
That would be really cool.
I think that would be really bizarre looking.
That too. I wonder if somebody's ever done it. So I mean, I've seen a lot of the stuff online where people try and merge characters. So I wonder if everyone's ever tried that.
You would think someone had done it by now.
You would think so. Well, if anybody out there has done it or seen it, tweet it out. We'd love to see it.
Show us your Hellboy Batman.
Show us your Hellboy Batman. And not merged together. I've seen a lot of actually Hellboy Batman. There was actually a book a long time ago. I remember. I think it was Hellboy. No, maybe it wasn't Hellboy and Batman. It was Hellboy and Starman.
Yeah.
Hellboy, Batman, and Starman. But I remember really digging that book because it was a cool crossover that you thought you would never see. My favorite Marvel and DC crossover of all time is the Teen Titans versus X-Men. I'm a big Teen Titans guy. So when
I never read much of that stuff. I really need to go back and read the old Marvel and DC crossovers.
Oh, they're really. It's just cool to see the characters that you would not see ordinarily interact together. Just seeing.
Oh yeah.
It's especially for me. I came up as a Teen Titans guy, an X-Men guy, and the idea of getting those two together. Like there's some panels from that book that I can literally close my eyes and see them like it was yesterday.
Yeah.
Is there any book like that for you? Anything that, not necessarily a crossover book, but is there any book that resonated with you so hard that like it's one of your favorites? You can close your eyes and see the panels.
Absolutely. Yeah. For me, a real turning point for me when I was a kid, because all the comics I read were for the most part, action-y, superhero-y books. And I still to this day cannot remember what made me pick this book up, but I picked up Death, the High Cost of Living, which was written by Neil Gaiman and drawn by Chris Bachalo. And I think it was actually the first place I had actually encountered Chris Bachalo. And And it was the first comic book that ever made me cry. And you know, it had this really like happy, sad ending that, you know, to this day, that book, it was such a beautiful book, and it was kind of a quiet book. I mean, there really wasn't a whole lot of action or anything. I mean, there was some drama in it, without a doubt, but it was just about this depressed kid. I mean, if anybody doesn't know what this book's about, basically, Death, and if you guys are familiar with the Vertigo Sandman books, Death, she's a girl, and she's very happy. She's a very, very, very positive character. But once every 100 years, I believe, I could be getting the time wrong, something like that. She gets 24 hours on Earth as a human being. And the reason she does it is so that she can experience what it's like to be human, because she is Death. She's there to take people, you know, once they die. So it's to help her understand what it's like to feel like a human, but also to see what it feels like to die. Because at the end of the 24-hour period, she dies. And it's just her meeting up with characters in New York City. One of them being this teenage boy that is just kind of this depressed character that, if I recall correctly, he was contemplating suicide. Right, and, yes. and she ends up basically spending the whole book with this kid and showing him the beauty of life, because she's just somebody that is spending this 24 hours, because that's all she has, just being like, this is amazing. You know, look at all this great stuff. Look at what's so great about being alive. And it's just an amazing book. I would recommend anybody read it. I mean, not only because, I mean, obviously Neil Gaiman wrote it, so you know it's going to be good, but Chris Bachalo's artwork is just stunning for this book.
Oh yeah, it was a beautiful book. And there was so many great quiet character moments in that book. I remember it. That, like you said, like kind of hit you a little hard, because there's not by any stretch of the imagination, but it had these really impactful character moments. So
yeah, I would highly recommend it, and I think you can get it on like Amazon, or you can still get it just about anywhere.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And it's a quick read. I mean, I want to say it was only like 5 issues.
I think it's only 3 issues, actually.
Was it only 3? I thought it was more than 3.
I believe it was only 3, yeah.
But yeah, I mean, just wow, just really punched me right in the gut.
It's a good one. Hey, I got another question for you from William Smith. Would you do another Coffin Comics book like Hell Witch or La Morta?
Yeah, I would actually. I've talked to Brian about doing another one. I told him La Muerta I'd really like to do. I do need to do another Lady Death cover, because there's a Lady Death fan that I owe a cover to, for him to buy. So I told Brian that I really need to do another Lady Death cover, because Dave Balance, if he's listening, I owe him a cover. So probably if I do another one, the next one I'll do will be Lady Death. But I would love to do La Muerta. Would be really cool, because I think she's a really interesting character. But yeah, we'll see.
Hopefully one of these days we get to see it.
Yeah, absolutely.
I got another question from Lacey Fitch. Do you have any advice for beginner comic makers like myself?
Well, depending on what she wants to do, I don't know whether she wants to draw or write. I do find that nowadays it seems like more people want to write than draw. But if she wants to write, the best thing you can do is write and get your work out there. Whether you're producing on a blog, whether you're producing a comic yourself, just get it out there. Good writing will always stand out. If she wants to be an artist, the same thing applies. I mean, when I was growing up, we didn't have the internet. We had basically I had the comic shop and I had art classes.
Wait, there was a time before the internet?
Yeah, can you believe it? Yeah, I mean, I didn't have the access they have now. I mean, now you've got DeviantArt and ArtStation and Facebook and Twitter, just all these places you can show off your work. And the thing is, I mean, these editors at Marvel and DC, they are all on those websites. And if you're good and good enough, trust me, they will find you. I mean, there's a huge number of artists that are given work at Marvel and DC because CB or Nick Lowe or someone from DC is just Ricky is just cruising Facebook or cruising Twitter, and artwork jumps out at them, and they'll go to that person's page, they'll look at their artwork some more, see what else they have, and then they'll just reach out to them and go, hey, you ever thought about drawing for Marvel? I mean, it really is that easy, and that hard, because you have to be able to willing to put the work in. But if you put the work in and you get good enough, it's easily doable.
Nice. I couldn't even imagine what it must be like for an aspiring artist to get that email out of the blue. Just be like, hey, I saw your work on DeviantArt or ArtStation or whatever the case may be. And like, would you be interested in working with us? Like, that's got to be mind blowing.
Oh no, it's got to melt someone's brain, right?
Definitely. I got another question from Nathan Wu. Have you ever thought of drawing classic novels or working on comic versions of a book? If so, which book would that be?
I've never put a lot of thought into it. I've always thought that if I did want to work on a novelization, graphic novelization of a novel, Kurt Vonnegut's my favorite writer. So doing Kurt Vonnegut would be a lot of fun. Like, my favorite book of all time is a book called Sirens of Titan. And it's just a really bizarre book, but it's a science fiction novel. And that's another one of those books that made me cry at the end. And yeah, I think that'd be a ton of fun to do a graphic novelization of those. I have a feeling, though, the way he writes, because he does a lot of like, and then they went to this planet, then they went to that planet, and this is happening on this planet, well, this is happening on that planet, and then back on Earth is yada, yada, yada. And I think it would be like trying to draw Dune at the end of the day, but it's probably very time consuming, but I think it'd be a lot of fun. I'd like to do something like that.
Very cool. I would wonder if the day ever comes where it's adapted into a graphic novel. That'd be really cool.
Well, did Slaughterhouse-5 ever get adapted into a graphic novel?
Not that I can recall, no.
Yeah, I don't think so either, but I could be wrong.
But then again, my memory is failing rapidly as the days go by.
Yeah, we've all got corn brain.
Exactly. I'm getting more sleep than I've ever gotten in my entire life, I think, which is...
Me too.
That could be equally as bad for you, though.
I think it is, actually. I feel like it's not good for me.
You'll screw up your, what is it called? Syncretic rhythm? Something rhythm. I'm sure someone right now is typing an answer in the chat going, you idiot.
I'm sure. Next question from Surma. Any movie posters you would want to recreate? Ooh, that's a good one.
Oh, well, that is a good one. Any movie posters I want to recreate? No, because anyone I want to recreate, Drew Struzan already beat me to it.
Drew's would be a tough act to follow, yeah.
I think like maybe the Logan's Run poster, something like that. Because I really love Logan's Run. But no, so many of the posters for the movies I love seem to already have like unbelievable posters to them. So I don't know what I would do to change them.
I hear you. That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
I actually have a question that kind of stems off that. I have absolutely no artistic talent whatsoever, but if I did, I would imagine like every once in a while there would be something that I would want to do just for me. Like, has there ever been a piece that you said, I want to do this for myself, whether it's making up your own movie poster or cover or whatever the case may be? Yeah,
lots of times. I mean, it's funny. Given the choice to like draw for myself, I still love drawing comic book characters because I just, I'm like, oh, I feel like drawing this today, Right. But like I did a live cast a couple of weeks ago where I drew a rogue, and that rogue I drew was just for fun because I haven't drawn. Rogue is my favorite X-Men, and I haven't drawn her in a long time, so thought I would do a live cast and just what started off as a kind of a quick drawing ended up being taking a couple of days to finish and ended up being a full painting. But yeah, I definitely still do that.
Nice. I saw that rogue, by the way. It was gorgeous.
Thank you.
You're welcome. I got a question from Dawn Gomez. That looks amazing. Thank you, Dawn. Thank you. I'm not trying. Do you have a marker brand preference?
I do. I definitely prefer Shinhan markers. I find that they blend better. And I say that as I'm using my Copic markers, but I'm doing that because I'm saving my Shinhans for when I do my fully painted pieces. So this is more of my sketch markers.
Nothing wrong with Copic.
No, nothing wrong with Copic. They're great. But just for blending and saturation, I do find that that the Shinhans are a little better for me. And it's just a personal preference. I mean, I know there are people that prefer Copics over anything else. So, and people that prefer Prismacolors markers.
Is there one that's easier to work with than the other, or is it just a preference on the type of work that you're doing, or?
It's just preference on the type of work that I'm doing. I prefer markers that are really saturated with their colors and the pigments to be really rich. And while Copics have some really nice colors, and there are some colors that Copic makes that Shinhan doesn't, and vice versa. I just find that the vibrancy of the pigment is more vibrant with the Shinhans. Now, I will say also that besides that, I also, after I finish markering a piece, I also end up using acrylic ink, which is this stuff right here. And so I actually will go over my artwork and paint it with this, and it brings out even more vibrancy in the piece.
Oh, wow.
And airbrushing.
Yeah. So
a lot of layers.
A lot of layers. Yeah, the marker generally is only the first layer before I start getting into the nitty gritty with all the other stuff.
It's mixed media, as it were.
Oh, very mixed media. I would say that pretty much when I finish a piece, there's no less than probably 3 or 4 mediums on it.
Wow. And now at the end of I think I've seen you do this on somewhere, and I can't, forgive me, I can't remember where, but then after you finish a piece, you kind of like put some kind of gloss over it or something to protect the piece or something like that?
Yeah. It's an acrylic medium that you put on top, that it's a varnish, that it's a UV varnish that just basically seals the piece and protects it. It's just really good for the artwork, and just it'll increase the life of the artwork for many years.
I also, it seemed, and correct me if I'm wrong, it seems to almost make it pop a little bit more, just maybe gives it a little bit more brightness or sheen to it, I guess. I don't know.
It does. It makes it saturates the colors a bit more, and just gives an overall just prettier look. It was Addy Granov that introduced me to varnish, because he varnishes all his pieces, and I was like, oh, what is that? So yeah, he kind of introduced me to it, and I've been playing around with different varnish mediums ever since then. I'm going too bad.
I think I speak for a lot of people out in the audience, a lot of fans, that we're all dying to see a Mark and Addy reality television show. I think that would be a lot of fun. I
think it would only be amusing to me and Tamsin, though, Mike.
No, their banter online is some of my favorite stuff to see. And I'm sure a lot of other people would agree.
He just likes busting my balls.
Well,
that's his favorite pastime.
If you couldn't do that to each other, then you wouldn't be good friends, right?
It's true.
I think probably the craziest, worst things I've ever said in my life are to my closest of friends.
No, it's absolutely true. It's like friends are friends so that you can make fun of them and try your best to hurt their feelings.
Exactly.
That's what friendship is, Lisa.
That's what friendship is. That for guys, especially.
That's what guy friendship is.
That's what guy friendship is. Absolutely. I got another question from Patrick C. Kawat. Again, forgive me if I mangle any of your names. This is actually a question for Lisa.
Oh, awesome.
Lisa, did you hear about Hamilton coming to Disney Plus?
Oh, she did.
Yeah, it was the first thing I saw when I woke up yesterday morning. So yes, we're all very, very super duper excited.
We are. We're setting that night aside to be
we're
Hamilton
all
night.
Huge Hamill fans here, so it's going to be pretty awesome.
Hamill fans.
Oh, very cool. It's funny, as a person who lives in New York, we still haven't gotten a chance to see it.
What?
I mean, it's a tough ticket, I think, even still to get. But yeah, it's worth every penny if you get the opportunity. We've seen it twice now in New York and in London, and it's just spectacular. So I'm looking forward to the movie, because it'll be a little bit more you know, being able to focus in on the details, which is it's such a big, beautiful show, and the music is so grand. It's hard to see all the details. So yeah, I'm excited.
Nice. We got another question from Spencer Stroud. What's your favorite social media channel, especially for your art? Facebook, Twitter, Twitch, Instagram, etc.
My favorite just to use, just because here's the thing. I really am so sick of fighting on social media. I'm so sick of, everyone is so nailed down to their political beliefs and where they're coming from and their opinions, and no one's listening to each other. And so it just gets Twitter and Facebook, which I enjoy, but they get exhausting. I really like Instagram because it just tends to be just people posting pictures, post a picture of their life, post a picture of what they're doing that day, what they're eating. I really enjoy Instagram because I can just sit there and scroll and scroll and scroll, and I will rarely come across anything that someone's putting up just to try and start a fight, start a debate, or piss anybody off. It's just, here's this awesome dessert I had last night, or here's this new piece of artwork that I'm working on that I just finished, or whatever. It's definitely my favorite.
I hear you. I actually took not that I'm a very big social media guy, but I took like 6 months off from social media at one point before the whole pandemic stuff, and like to kind of step away from it because there's just a lot of fighting going on. So one of the first ones I got back to was Instagram, just following people and following art, and it's definitely more relaxing there for me.
Yeah. You can go to any other website or social media platform for drama. Because there's no shortage of. Twitter. Good God, Twitter is the worst. Twitter is just a hot garbage fire of vitriol and animus and everyone fighting and politics and just apparently, according to every post I see, everyone on Twitter is a Nazi. Because that's what the go-to insult for everybody is. So yeah, I'd rather just avoid it all. I definitely have my political beliefs and my political leanings, and I agree with a lot of stuff I'm seeing on there about a certain president. About just don't get it twisted. I think he's a monster too. I just don't see the point of arguing about it.
For me, whenever I go on social media personally and I try and post stuff, I just try and post positive stuff. This is what's going on in my life. These are my kids. These are my world. Here's some charity stuff, whatever I can share, and some art, just to try and bring a little sunshine to people's day. There's enough gloom and doom, especially now more than ever. So
no, absolutely. I
try to connect.
Yeah, that's the thing. And honestly, no one cares what I have to say anyway. I
don't. So.
God knows you don't. Seriously, people just want to see me draw. They don't think they're really interested in my political opinions. And the other thing is, it's an old saying, but it's still one of my favorites. It's the whole, does it need to be said? Does it need to be said right now? And does it need to be said by me? And rarely is the answer to all three of those questions yes. So, if I can't answer yes to all three of those questions, then I generally shut up.
I hear you. I'm on the same page.
Yeah.
We got another question from Tom Romano. Do you have a specific model you use for your faces, or do you think of a specific movie star as a certain character?
No, I really don't. I think more about personality than I think about faces. Like, I draw Kitty Pryde differently than I would draw Emma Frost. And so, I'm sure there's a general female form I may be thinking of, but for the most part, it just comes down to, okay, what are they doing in this piece that I'm doing? And who is the character? What is their personality like? And I try to, kind of keep that in mind. I think the thing about, especially because I draw a lot of women, and, in this day and age, you can get yourself in trouble drawing women. And I really enjoy drawing beautiful women. But it's very important to me that the women I draw have personage and have a personality and are not just a mannequin that I'm dressing up in, skimpy clothes. So, I want to make sure that even if I'm drawing Emma Frost, who is a sexy character, people expect to see her in a sexy pose or whatever, I'm still giving her personality. I'm inviting her to be a real person. So that's far more important to me than thinking about a specific person I'm drawing. It has more to do with, like I said, personality. But that's just me. I mean, everyone has their own philosophy for it. That's just the direction I come from.
Do you find it difficult to keep characters consistent? Say, Jean Grey always looks the same, Emma always looks the same, Kitty always looks the same. Like, do you have to go back and almost reference your own stuff to say, oh, I drew, I don't know, Kitty a little bit leaner or whatever the case may be?
No, I rarely reference my own artwork that I've drawn in the past, mostly because I'm afraid, because especially I'm trying to get better all the time. If I'm referencing old artwork, I'm worried that it's going to affect what I'm doing now. So, I try my best not to. Like I said, it just goes more with the personality, and because my style is my style. Even if I'm not looking at my old artwork of a character I've drawn before, I'm going to have a tendency to draw them similarly to the way I drew them before, just because it's just the way I draw.
Right. No, that makes sense.
Yeah.
I got a question from Angie Erin.
Mm-hmm.
Favorite part of the con weekend? Oh, I like that question.
Oh, favorite part?
Yeah.
Probably not the part that a fan wants to hear. My favorite part is when 7 o'clock comes and they go, the show floor's closed, and I'm like, yay, dinner, drinks, go.
The first day is always fun, and the last day is always fun.
It's true. No, I mean, and don't get me wrong. I really love the con itself. But when we go to these cons, you have to realize that we are working our ass off from the moment we sit down to the moment we get up. And so, hearing that the con floor is closed for the night is like hearing the dinner bell. You go and take a break, because you got to get up and do it again. It really does embody the whole work hard, play hard philosophy. Because I know that I'm going to the con to work, and I know that and the show hour's long. I mean, what's the normal show hours in New York Comic Con? It's like
New York Comic Con is extended. That we have extended days at New York. Everything closes at 8, so it's a 10-hour day, which is
absolutely. So instead of being an 8-hour day, you're looking at sitting at that table, signing and sketching and drawing and talking, for 10 hours a day. And so so by the time the floor closes, now I will admit we always leave at 7.
We have someone at the table watching the table.
It's true.
A little early.
That's okay. I'll just make a note right here.
Damn it.
We have to eat, Mike.
Mark Brooks gets table Q7 in the future.
All the way in the back corner, right?
In Brooklyn.
So I got a question then. Do you have a favorite con story? Like, one of those moments that happened at a con that were like, you think back of really fondly, I guess.
No, I mean, all the shows are amazing to me. You know what? This is not a happy con story as much as it's, I can't believe my friend did this to me con story. And hopefully this will be entertaining to people listening. So years ago, I did a bunch of trading cards for I'm not going to say any names, Lisa, calm down. That's the word I'm going to say names. I did a bunch of trading cards for the Indiana Jones trading card set for, I believe, Topps. Maybe it was Upper Deck. I can't remember. But anyway, the way these, and I got to preface this story by telling you how this works. The way these cards works is you only get paid like 50 cents a card to draw these cards. But where the money comes in, where you really get paid is, let's say if you do 50 cards, they give you 6, and you can choose which 6 sketch cards you want to keep of the 50 you did, and you can sell those on eBay on your own. And the thing about the cards is, because the collector market at the time was so hot, you could get $500-600, maybe even $1,000 a card to sell these on eBay. Yeah. So even though, if you do 50 cards at 50 cents each, you get a check for $25 from Upper Deck, you get 6 cards back. And again, cards of your choice. So you always go all out on the cards you keep. And then you sell those, and that's really where you get paid. So anyway, I had done it for Star Wars, and it had been very successful, and I really enjoyed doing it. So when they asked me to do Indiana Jones, they were like, "Hey, J. Scott Campbell's going to do some, and we got Adam Hughes is doing some, so would you mind just coming in and doing like 50 cards?" And I said, "Sure, I wouldn't mind doing that." So, and I think also the deal was they would give us 10 cards back instead of 6. But they wanted some bigger names on the cards, so we said, "Sure, that sounds like fun." So we do the cards, we turn them in, and the cards come out. And the way it works is one box of cards. Like, what a box of cards is. Like when you go to the convenience store, you see the box of cards. One box, one pack inside that box will have a sketch card in it, a random sketch card from one of the artists that worked on the series. So I believe at the time there was probably 150 different artists. So you were going to get a random sketch card. If you bought a whole box, you would get at least one random sketch card by one of these artists. It could be, one of these quick artists, or it could be a J. Scott Campbell. You never know. So, which is great for the fans. They really enjoy it. We have fans going and buying boxes and boxes and boxes. They want to get a bunch of cards. They want a lot of the sketch cards. So anyway, there's this one artist that. Oh, that's another thing. Keep in mind that as far as artists go, the most an artist was doing was maybe 150 cards. Okay. Now, that's a lot of artwork. That's a lot of cards. And I'm sure there were artists that may have done like 200, but it was always around 100 to 150. So the boxes came out, and everyone started opening up their boxes to see what they got. All the fans and all the collectors, and they kept discovering this one artist card that this guy had done 3,000 cards.
3,000.
He did 3,000, and each card was done in Sharpie, and probably took him all of 20 seconds.
Oh.
So basically what he did is, you got to imagine, he did 3,000 of them. Now he got a check for $1,500. He did 3,000 of these cards. He flooded the market. They were again 20-second sketches. He basically destroyed the series. Because you had all these fans that were going out and buying crates of these cards in hopes of getting sketch cards, and winding up with like 30 of these cards. They're unsellable. No one wants them. Because what they'll do is they'll go and buy a bunch of boxes, and they're looking for specific artists they want, and they'll take the cards of the other artists they don't want, and those are the ones they'll put on eBay to make up some money. Yeah. Couldn't do that now. So they basically destroyed the market. This guy destroyed the market. And anyway, I was pretty bent out of shape about it, because it pretty much made the entire collection useless. And I was pretty angry about it. And I was pretty vocal about it on a couple of podcasts. Keep in mind, this is over 10 years ago. This is a while ago. So I was pretty vocal about it on a couple of podcasts about how this artist had really screwed us. So I'm at San Diego. I know it was a long precursor to the con story you're asking about.
No worries.
So I'm at San Diego, and I'd had a great San Diego. I made a lot of connections, gotten a lot of new gigs, a lot of really great things that happened for me. And I was just riding high on Sunday afternoon, knowing I'd had a great show. I'd done really well financially. So I'm sitting there with Lisa, and I'm sitting there drawing, and a guy walks up to me, and he's standing in front of my table. And so I kind of look up at him, and he goes, "Mark Brooks?" And I went, "I'm not going to say his name." He says, "Mark Brooks?" I said, "Yeah." And he goes, "You're Mark Brooks?" I went, "Yeah, I'm Mark Brooks." And he went, and he had a badge on. His badge was flipped upside down, like backwards.
Okay.
And he takes his badge and he flips it over. And it's the name of the artist that I had been very pissed off at.
Dun, dun, dun.
And I went, "Okay, hi." And "Hi, so-and-so." I'm not going to say his name. And he goes, "So you want to talk that shit to me now?" I know. And at this point, I'm terrified's not the word, just like, I can't believe this is happening.
Right.
I can't believe I just had the greatest San Diego of my life, and now I'm going to have a fight on the con floor.
Right. Of course.
So
You don't need a confrontation after you've had a great show.
no. So, he's like, you want to say this stuff to me now? And I said, man, look, just have pride in your work. Just have pride in your work.
It's that simple.
Yeah, that's simple. And he goes, oh, really? And he goes, what about this garbage? And he like motions over my artwork, and I just went, okay, whatever.
Wow.
And he said, well, what, you want to go outside about that? I said, I'm not going to fight you, about this. This is ridiculous. And so I just put my head down and kept drawing. And all I'm thinking the whole time is, because this guy's getting really loud. And all I'm thinking the whole time, because Lisa's sitting next to me, is, Lisa, why aren't you doing anything? Why aren't you getting security or calling the cops or something? And he's like, no, come on, let's go outside. I said, no, just have pride in your work. Just have pride in your work. I'm just repeating myself.
Right.
And so I've got my head down. I'm trying to ignore this guy. And I'm like, just go away. Just go away. Go away. And finally, Lisa goes, Mark. And I'm like, what? She's like, Mark, what? She says, look to your left. And I look to my left, and I see my friend Lee Duhigg and his brother. And they're over off to the side in Artist Alley. And they are doubled over laughing. You see, Lee Duhigg.
I can see where this is going.
Lee Duhigg is one of the art directors at Antarctic Press, and they have a booth at San Diego. And when you have a booth at San Diego, you get like 14 badges, and you can put whatever names you want on those badges. So this guy in front of me was just some friend of Lee's that he said, put this badge on, go over there, and just give him as much crap as you can.
You got punked.
I got punked hard. I got punked so hard.
Oh my God, that's great. That is a great start.
So, and I will say to this day that the guy that I was so angry at, I still have never met him in real life. But that's probably the greatest prank anyone's ever pulled on me, because I don't know who this guy was, his friend, but this guy was pot committed.
He was an actor.
He was too good at this.
He really sold it.
Oh, he sold it like crazy. I mean, I fully believed he was extremely upset at me.
Wow. Were you getting a little bit nervous that he was just going to try and throw down with you right then and there?
Oh, no, absolutely. I was like, this guy's going to jump the table. He's really mad. And I was, and this is, months and months later. I'm not mad like that anymore. Even if I was, I'm not a fighter. I'm a lover, man.
That is a great story. That is
So there you go. There's your con exclusive.
That's a good one. That's a great prank, but lots of great memories are made at the con. Like, I always say for me, one of the greatest things about the conventions is, it's where everyone gets to connect. Fans get to connect with artists and their favorite artists. Like, what other fandom do you really get to do much of that? Like, if you're a baseball player, you get to go to a baseball game possibly, but will you ever get to meet your favorite players necessarily? Or if you're into movies, will you get to meet your favorite directors or movie stars? It's not necessarily likely, but comics is a place where you can go and go to one of these conventions and get to actually meet your favorite creators, spend some time with them, have a conversation. Like, I think that's one of the most important.
No, absolutely. And sorry about that. My son is coming downstairs, so now my dog's going to bark at him. No, that's absolutely true. It's why I like Jack. Sorry. It's why I like going to cons so much. I mean, because and what I'm missing so much with the current situation, because I really like the interaction with the fans. I mean, I get energized. Right. by the fans and their enthusiasm for what we're doing, and it makes it very difficult when we don't have that right now.
Yeah, it does, and it's also, again, I love the fans. I love to see the fans, but it's also hard not seeing your friends. Right? These are, especially when you do a bunch of cons in a year, you get to see people. You get to see Adi more often than, I know you guys do stuff on the side together, but you get to see him more often because you're doing conventions together, and then you don't because everything's shut down. It's hard not being able to see people, go to dinner, and just to get to spend some time.
No, absolutely. I mean, let's face it. Most of my friend circle is in comics, which means that most of my friend circle lives in all different parts of the world. You know, I mean, I've got Lanil Yu in the Philippines that, you know, I only get to see once a year if I'm lucky, but he's one of my closest friends. You know, Addie lives in the UK. Olivia Coipel lives in, where's he living now? Portugal. Yeah. Yeah. You know, so cons are my way of being able to see my friends.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, that's not happening right now. But I mean, luckily we still have stuff like this. You know, it's not all bad.
True.
You know, it could be worse. I'll put it that way.
You spend a lot of time connecting with people like on Zoom and things like that.
I do. Yeah, we've been using Zoom a lot. We've been using Facebook Live, obviously, and Skype. So yeah, you know, we still have ways of seeing each other, but it's just not the same. You know, you want to be able to go out to dinner and sit around a table together and break bread, you know, with your friends, and that's just not something that can be done right now, unfortunately.
Yeah, but we will get back to it.
We will. We absolutely will. You know,
I don't know when, but we will. I know we will. In my heart.
I think it's going to be all up to us. You know, like when it's all going to be up to the general population. I mean, I think if we're able to work together and realize that, you know, we are a community and that we're all in it. This is a village, that we can get through this. But, you know, if everyone keeps getting upset and freaking out because, you know, they can't go get their hair done, this could end up lasting longer. So I'm just hoping that people, just smarter heads prevail.
Exactly.
Lulu agrees with me.
For me, I'm loving all of how people are coming together and how, you know, so many people are doing everything that they can, whether it's that they're at home making masks, or, you know, just helping the elderly, or especially all our essential workers. Like, these are people who have always been heroes and are now finally getting the recognition they've long deserved. Like, I love all of that. Like, here in New York, specifically in Manhattan, like every day at 7 o'clock, everyone goes to their rooftops and claps and yells and makes the most noise for all the essential workers who are kind of coming home at that time.
That's been happening on a lot of places, hasn't it? I think Chicago they're doing it. I think in the UK they're doing it as well.
And Mike, we have so many medical, like, doctors and nurses just in our immediate family. Like, it's super meaningful to us too.
Yeah, absolutely. In fact, my sister-in-law is a neurologist, and because of that, never mind. I'm getting the high sign from Lisa.
No worries.
But anyway, yeah, it's just, you know, I'm just glad to see that people are pulling together, the ones that are, and I hope we continue doing that, because I think that's what'll get us out of these woods faster. Agreed.
And it's been amazing to me to watch the comic book community come together. You know, it's hit some rough times too, and everybody's been joining together to you know, help the retailers and you know, try and get more artists some, you know, visibility online. You know, the conventions are a lot of folks' bread and butter, and now without them, people are struggling. So I see people diving into promoting their stuff and pushing other people's commissions and trying to get, you know, raise everybody's visibility to help out. So I just love all of that. I love the community of it, how everyone just coming together.
Absolutely. You know, I mean, that's what it's all about for me, you know, and yeah, it's definitely for me right now. I mean, I definitely want to help out my fellow comic artists, because I know some of them are struggling. I really am really focused on the retailers right now, because without them, I think that a lot of us are going to be screwed for the most part. So I think it's really important that the retailers are able to survive this, so that we can continue producing the work we want to produce. That's why I think it's important that, you know, if you are a comic reader, and even if you're not, to go to a comic shop or to call a comic shop and see if they do curbside pickup, because a lot of shops are doing that nowadays. I think, Mike, is your shop doing that?
Unfortunately not, because we were told we couldn't do it for the interim.
I see. Okay.
Yeah, so we're doing shipping. Well, like, you know, if you order something, we'll ship it out. We're doing online auctions and shipping stuff out in that way. But once you know, everything opens back up a little bit and books start shipping again, we're gonna hopefully go back to the curbside pickup, because we were doing that for a while.
Yeah, I know a lot of shops in Georgia are still doing it. I think they're starting to open up Georgia a bit. So I think that some of those shops are starting to open up. But if you live in a community that's still locked down, I still think a lot of these shops are doing curbside and
Shipping. I mean,
or just shipping. Yeah, but it'd be really great, if you guys would support your local comic shops, just with a few dollars.
Yeah, I agree. Support your local comic shop. It's very important.
It really is.
These are the folks that are on the front line. All of this doesn't happen unless we can get the book and the stuff into their hands.
100%. All right, I'm doing the white now. This is where it really pops.
I even missed my store, other stores. Creators come in, they do signings and things like that, and that's always great because you get to connect with not only creators, but you get to connect with the other fans and just waiting on line together. And I miss all of that stuff too. Like it can't come back quick enough.
It's true. I mean, for me, growing up, because like I said, we didn't have the internet or anything like that. The comic shop for me was like going to church. I mean, it was my temple.
Exactly.
And I want that back.
Your shop?
What's that?
You had a local comic shop as a kid. That was your shop because back in the day there wasn't as many shops as there are today.
There wasn't, but we definitely had some. The shops I went to as a kid aren't open anymore. But the big one we had was Oxford Comics, that is still here.
Oh, wow.
That I still go to from time to time. But I feel like in the last year, unfortunately, before all this happened, I felt like a lot of comic shops were opening up in the area. We had one called Infinite Realities. That's something we actually did a charity drive for. Not charity drive, but a charity giveaway. That we really love. It's got a lady owner, which I think is really awesome. Nice. And they're really focused on customer service and just giving people a really good time and a place to hang out and feel comfortable, which I think is really important in this day and age because. In the day and age of everyone going online to buy all their stuff, you have to give people a reason to want to come to your shop in person. And I think that beyond the comics themselves, you have to give people an experience.
Exactly.
And I think that that's what they're trying to do. And I think it's really cool.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah. I think a lot of shops are doing that. I think it really is to the point now where the customer is king. Because it's their dollar, they can use it online if they want to. So you got to give them a reason to come in.
Absolutely, I think the experience has always been a key component of the comic book stores, even pre-internet for me. Like I had a local comic book store that I like to say I grew up in because from the age of 10, I started going to that store literally every day. I even stopped there on the day of my wedding, like that.
Wow.
And my wife will love to tell the story about how I was late to the church because we stopped into the comic book store. But, I think that a lot of the friendships that I have to this day came out of that store and came out of this community. And I think that's one of the great things about the retailers, especially, is it builds these communities, these local communities of. I know comics are more mainstream. Star Wars is more mainstream than it was previously, but especially back in the day, like these were the only place you can find your people. Like if you have the who's stronger, the Superman or Hulk conversations, or talk about the minutia of Jedi history or whatever the case may be.
That is 100% true. It's there was a time where reading comic books wasn't cool, man. I mean, it wasn't. I mean, I liked having a girlfriend in high school, and I liked, feeling normal in high school like anybody else would. I hid my comic book addiction. I was nervous to tell people about it, because you would get made fun of for it.
Absolutely. Or beat up. I got beat up a couple of times. I remember. I'll never forget. But it didn't stop me.
Where's your Spider-Man now, Mike? Punch.
There's a couple of those stories, but I loved it so much it didn't matter because when you go to the store, you were like you said, you were home.
Yeah, exactly. You felt like you were part of something.
Yeah, something bigger too, because you knew that people around the country, around the world were having these same conversations. And now it's more so even today than ever. Like I've my wife always makes fun of me in that wherever we go, whether it's on vacation or just a road trip, nearby, I always have to find a local comic book store. I just always want to stop in just to see what a different store looks like.
I do the exact same. It drives Lisa crazy. She's like, they have the same comics here. They have one at home. What are you going to decide here for?
Except when we travel internationally, like it's always really interesting and fascinating to go to, comic and art book stores like in other countries. Like that
is true, especially in like France. They have some really, really cool comic shops there. But I always like to go in and just see what, I like to experience what other comic shops are doing besides the one, I'm used to.
Shout out to Pulps in France.
Pulps in France is probably my favorite comic shop in France because they really focus on the art. You can get like, obviously all your comics and graphic novels, but they have the French album graphic novels and a lot of like artist portfolios and things like that. They're really awesome.
Oh, that's very cool.
Yeah.
When I go to comic book stores internationally, I always like to buy something that I already have an English version of, just because I like to see a different version of something that I love. So like, I have a lot of old Teen Titans and old Superman books, back issues that are in different languages, just because I like to have them and see how, sometimes especially the cover layout is different, the coloring is different.
Absolutely. I have a French album of We Three that Frank Quietly, I did a con with him, and I bought it just because him and I were hanging out, and he did a We Three sketch inside of it for us.
Vincent did a really beautiful sketch for us on the inside, and it's really beautiful. Yeah, the whole thing is in French, which is pretty awesome.
Well, I've read the regular version, so I was fine even the French version. En français.
They did I have a Spanish version of the New Teen Titans Omnibus. The Perez Wolfman omnibus, but it actually had come out many years before DC started doing these omnibuses in the United States, and I had found it at a show, not actually an international show, but a local show, and the guy was like practically giving it away. He was like, "It's in Spanish." I'm like, "But look at this book; it's gorgeous." It didn't have a cover. It didn't have a removable cover. It was just a cover that was on the actual material, and it was so vibrant and so beautiful and laid out so well. Like, I was so excited to have it. It's still one of my favorite pieces.
Well, that's the thing, because oftentimes the European versions are printed the printing is awesome. It's even nicer than the American version.
Exactly.
Yeah, the emphasis on print quality, especially in Europe and Asia, it's pretty amazing.
And just recently, when I was in Vienna, I was desperate to find a Superman book, because I'm a Superman guy. I usually like to get a Superman book, and I found a Superman book from my favorite Action Comics. Action Comics 584, which is the first time John Byrne took over Action, and it had Superman, Teen Titans. So it was oversized magazine size. The cover was laid out different, and yet it was like 30 years old that I found.
Wow.
And I was so excited. Like, that stuff it's cool.
Wow. No, it's amazing. I'm almost done. Lisa's like, "Are you done?"
I have to be his like time coach, where I'm kind of like, "All right, let's wrap it up. Otherwise, we could be here to midnight, Mike." Okay.
Well, me and Mark can talk comics all night. It is coming out beautiful. It's gorgeous.
Thank you. I think we are about done here.
No, I have a quick question you're about to finish this piece off, so I have a quick question. You've told me the story, but maybe some people don't know. You have a unique signature for your artwork. So
I do. Well, I mean, anybody that knows my work, they've seen the kind of Japanese kanji that I do or use. I got that. I was at an anime convention, years ago, a long time ago. And there was a woman there, a Japanese woman, that would write your name in kanji, and you just give her name, and then she takes out a little scroll and does it for you. And she did, so I walked up and asked her, it was like $10. It was like nothing, So, yeah, I told her my name, and apparently Mark is very difficult to do in Japanese because it's the R sound. Is it the R sound or the M sound or the K sound? I think it's anyway. One of the sounds is difficult to translate. So it ended up being this really beautiful kanji that she did, and she gave it to me, and I really loved it. And so after walking around with it and looking at it, I went back to her and I said, "Hey, listen, I'm an artist as well. Do you mind if I use this as my signature?" And she was like, "Sure, yeah, please go ahead." So so I went home and scanned it and added the block around it and put Brooks below it, and I've been using it ever since.
That's really, really cool. And are you sure it says Mark Brooks and not like?
Oh, so that's the thing.
Like
it does say Mark.
It says, yeah.
It says Maku. It says basically MOKO because there's no R sound.
Right.
So it's basically the Japanese version of Mark, which is Maku. So it says Maku Brooks, so in Japanese it says Maku, but I didn't realize kanji can be read in both Chinese and Japanese.
Okay.
So in Japanese it says Maku. In Chinese it says large man on a large horse.
Okay, there you go. Well, which if you're riding a horse, it's like I guess that could be appropriate. You're dude.
No, it's always funny. If someone comes over, if it's an Asian person, and they come to my table and I see them looking at my signature and they're looking at it puzzled, I always go, "You're Chinese, aren't you?" And they're like, "Yeah, how'd you know?" I'm like, "Well, because it's and they're like, "What's it supposed to say?" I said, "It's supposed to say Mark, but it says guy on a horse, right?" And they're like, "Yeah."
That's great. And now you have a stamp for that. Like you don't actually hand draw that, do you?
No. It's just a Photoshop stamp. My regular signature is just kind of like just a handwritten signature. I don't. When I hand sign something, I don't sign with that. That's just for published work.
Got it.
Yeah. Mike, if you want to, because I know you're waiting to do the giveaway, why don't you go and do the giveaway now?
That sounds great.
You want to do that?
Let's do it. This Mark. This came out amazingly gorgeous. Like I cannot tell you how stunned I am by this piece. Thank you again. And we do have a lucky winner. So we're gonna name this person. What's gonna happen is we're gonna have somebody reach out to you and get all your information. And the lucky winner of this Mark Brooks piece is Chris Surma. Chris Surma, congratulations, man! You won this amazing Jean Grey by Mark. Enjoy it. It's lovely. Well, Kylie Mason will reach out to you and she will get the details from you and we'll make sure that you get the piece. Congratulations, Chris. Hope you enjoy it.
Congrats, Chris. That's awesome.
Yay.
I'm excited for him.
Me too. I was going to make the joke that the winner was Mike Nagin, but
Right.
or maybe my wife or some other family.
You're pulling a real like Monopoly McDonald's game situation, right?
Exactly.
You give it to the
All right, you want to do the close-up?
Yeah. All right. Lisa's giving me the high sign, basically saying, "We're done."
I'm hungry. Dinner is. Let's go eat dinner.
So let's do this. So
gorgeous. Thank you so much for doing this.
My pleasure.
That's yours. That's coming your way.
All right. Congratulations. I'm going to maybe noodle on it for another couple of minutes after I get off here, and then I'll add my signature. And Mike, I'll wait to hear from you about how to ship this out, and that'll be that.
Sounds good. Chris, thank you. Chris, Mark, thank you so much for joining us. Lisa, thank you for joining us as well and being the behind-the-scenes producer on this with Mark. I appreciate it. You guys, it's always great talking to you. Always great seeing you. I miss you guys, and I hope we get to catch up soon.
Absolutely, Mike. It was awesome to talk to you, man.
Thank you, Mike. We miss you and we love you guys, okay?
Guys, thank you for joining us today with Mark and Lisa. We really appreciate it, guys. Hope you had a great time. And, we'll be seeing more stuff from Mark soon. Again, check out his art book that's coming out in just a few months, hopefully. Check your local comic book stores. Check in with them. Pre-order it. Pre-order. It's important. If you want to see a second edition of that book, not a second edition, a volume 2 of that book, please We really want to see that.
Pick it up. Go get it, guys.
Thanks,
Take care,
guys.
everyone. Stay safe. We'll talk to you soon. Bye.
Bye.